Call this meeting to order. Roll call, please, Neil.
Columbia.
Here.
Oslo.
Here.
Larson.
Here.
Kenny. Here. Rock. Here. Joseph. Here. Enslinger. Here. Allen. Here. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Any conflicts of interest proceeded or perceived on the agenda as presented in the handout? Hearing none, let's look for a motion to approve the agenda as provided.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded that the agenda be approved as provided. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, I assume you're ready to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Minutes of the July 13th, 2020 meeting were provided to us. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes?
Second.
Moved and seconded that the minutes be approved as presented. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, I assume you're ready to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The next meeting scheduled should be August 10th. Any conflicts or anything, Neil, that looks like it's going to be an issue?
Nope.
All right, let's move for the blanket on August 10th, please.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded that the next meeting be scheduled for August 10th. Discussion. Hearing none, I assume you're ready to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Conditional use permit. Skylar Siebert, applicant, and CJG Properties LLC owner have applied for a conditional use permit to operate a family residential daycare center at 809 North Wisconsin, legally described as Lot 4, Block 52, Capital Edition, City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota. The property is zoned R4, High Density Residential District. Neil, talk to us, please.
Okay, what's before you is the reason there's the owner is not the applicant. As you can kind of see on the aerial that's provided for you on page 10, you would see it's like the third house down off Wisconsin and 9th. We did get 2 letters back. And as you can see, we mailed a number of them there. So I believe she's here. Yes, she is here. We've got questions of her. I don't know if our department's sent this yet.
Good this morning, yes.
Did this morning? Okay. Everything's good?
Yep.
Okay. So I guess that answers that.
Want to talk to us and tell us what your plans are, please?
My plans are just to operate a daycare with less than 10 kids, and just mainly in the back room where there's 2 ways to get out. And these letters, one of them says that I already have a daycare. I've babysat like twice. So, about the hit and run, that was one of the people I babysat for, and then I told the neighbor that I would call her, and she came back over there, so, and they took care of it, so, and then this one is just the added traffic. Yeah, there is some traffic, but I don't think there's that much, but yeah.
Any questions for this young lady? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else would like to talk to us about that area? Hearing none, I guess we're ready for a motion. You've heard the young lady talk to us. I have to agree that that's kind of an area that has some feeding issues and other things that can happen. I used to live just a couple of blocks north of there, and know what it's like on Wisconsin. Fire inspection has been done. What's your pleasure, folks? I think we're ready for a motion.
Well, I think the Minnesota Street's gonna be the busiest part for school. I guess, I don't know if they come off of that Minnesota going Wisconsin, but I don't see no problem in it. I'll make the motion to approve it with the conditions like we usually do for child care.
I'll second.
Discussion on the motion. Hearing no discussion, I assume you're ready to vote. Neil, let's go roll call, please.
Just before you keep going there, the normal conditions are, for audience members and then maybe for Brad's edification too as well. The typical conditions we put on daycares is one, that it's not transferable. Two is that if she stops for a period of 6 months or longer, then she needs to reapply. And then three, that you pass the fire inspection, so she's already done that. So it would be just those two conditions. Assuming.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
That, you want roll call?
Please.
Genslinger?
Yes.
Churchman?
Yes.
Bach?
Yes.
Penny?
Yes.
Larson?
No. I think the traffic's going to be a problem.
Oscar?
Yes.
And Maloney?
Yeah.
Okay. 6-1.
Motion carries. Let's go on to the next item.
It's Monday night in this room at 7 o'clock, or 6 o'clock.
Okay, item number 8 on the agenda. Steve Allers has requested the property legally described as the west 56 feet of outlot, not outlaw, but outlot 7A in the southwest corner of section 15, 10360, City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota, be zoned from R2 single family residential district to highway business oriented district. And he has requested a front yard setback variance from 20 feet versus 25 feet under R2 district. The highway business requires 30 and a backyard variance of 15 for the R2 district, which requires 25. The highway business district setback is 0. He wishes to construct a storage garage that may be used for personal and commercial use.
I'll give you some background here, and I'm going to try to wrap them together, even though they are two separate issues, but they're
Right.
somewhat related. So, and I see Mr. Allers is here, too, so wherever if I misspeak or say something, really something, then please correct me. On before you is on page 13 is a drawing that was submitted by the applicant, and you probably, if you had an opportunity, if you could drive by the property, you probably saw that there was a couple of stakes out so that you could see what this is. The first issue is the rezoning of it. Currently, this property is zoned R2 as well as that house that is to the east of the property. However, it is highway business to the north, which there's Lewis Drug is highway business as well as the car wash is highway business. So, hence, that's the commercial, and my understanding that, that there's always that possibility that if he wishes to use it for commercial purposes, perhaps rent it out, or if he wishes to sell it at a later date, it could be sold independently of the property. So, that's there. In relation to the setback, for there is, if this property is rezoned to commercial or highway business, the only setback, the variance he'd be requesting would be the front yard, which is the 30, and he wouldn't have to have a backyard setback. So that's why, if it stays residential, then he would have to have a backyard setback and a front yard setback. So, and you probably remember, recall, some of you who were in the planning commission recall, maybe a couple of years ago, maybe three, we had a request for somebody who was going to do a tiny house on this property, but that didn't happen, obviously. And there's a whole bunch of utilities there. There's an overlink power. There's kind of a little bit of a gas, I'm not sure what the actual name of it is, some gas piping there. There's also some utilities in the back. So with that being said, so like I said, there's two different issues. One is just the rezoning, and then the second one, if you rezone it, then that changes the request for the variance. So but when we advertise both, we just put a whole different scenario in. So, any comment on it?
No. Good afternoon. My name is Steve Alders. I do have a couple of approval letters I do want to submit. Neil, do you take these?
Yes.
So yeah, if you guys have any questions about that right now, just like Neil said, a couple of the ideas, obviously the rezoning to make an adjustment to be able to put a commercial building on it, but then obviously the variances because of the fact of all the utilities that are actually in that location, we had to be able to move the building around to be able to make the variances fit to be able to put that small building on that, to be able to access it for being able to put a small self-storage building on there. So, but if you guys have any questions, I'd be glad to answer that right now.
Going to be able to pick, are you going,
My understanding is the reason 20-foot is in the front is to align it with the house.
Correct. That's, yep.
you think you're going to be able to compete with your neighbor to the north?
As far as the self-storage?
Yes.
Absolutely. The self-storage, and I know there's been question about that too. I mean, obviously, can I compete with that? Absolutely, because number one, the self-storage unit that's in the mall right now is actually climate controlled, where mine would not be. So cost effectiveness is the huge factor in that. So my units there will be most likely almost half the price of what they will be out there for the same size unit, simply because they won't be climate controlled.
Any other questions?
I got one.
John?
So I'm getting a mix here because do I write the permit based on commercial building code or personal building code? And if we do, when you're maxed out to the property line, you're gonna have a firewall requirement that's gonna be much more than a residential structure or a personal storage building. So, you know, I understand if he's got two different scenarios he's playing here. If you leave it alone, then he's gonna call it or use this personal storage, or is he gonna call it that and use this commercial storage? And when I write the permit, it's gotta go by commercial building code, the IBC, it's gotta go by the IRC. Which one am I using?
Well, maybe we'll have to have that answered by the time we're done here, but it's a
Because
good thing.
if he's built out of type 5B in wood with no protection, that can't fly. You're gonna have to have a 2-hour firewall. You're talking 4 layers of 5A sheetrock on that exterior wall if you're zero property line.
It's in the back. It's in the back.
You have to go with the code that's the most restrictive, or that's the most critical.
Well, but it sounds like it's gonna be a commercial building.
Right.
So it's gonna go on the IBC.
I would say, yeah, it's definitely a commercial building.
Okay.
And that would be my interpretation. of it.
Right, that's kind of where I'm going.
Storage units that you're gonna lease out to individuals, it's a commercial building.
Now if you're built out of a different material too, if he's built out of type 1A or 2A or 2B metal, then he can be 5 feet with no firewall. But if he's built out of wood, he's gotta be 10 feet with no firewall, and if he wants to be zero with wood, it's a 2-hour firewall.
But he's
No
gonna be,
penetrations.
but he's gonna be 15, 20 all the way around.
Oh, on the sides.
Yeah.
Okay, so the zero is only,
So just, what we're saying is he wouldn't need a backyard setback if it goes to.
oh, then he'll be okay.
Right.
So he's 10 on one side and 15 on the other?
He's 15 all the way around.
15 all the way around,
Oh, then you're gonna be fine.
yeah. And he's looking at a 20.5-foot setback to line up with the other house regardless of where he goes, it looks like.
We're just saying is if it goes to commercial, he wouldn't have had to ask for
Okay,
a backyard setback.
Correct,
That's-
correct.
that's-
Yep,
that's-
yep.
I wasn't misunderstood.
Yep.
he can be 10 out of wood construction with no fire.
But he's gonna be 16 all the way.
Yeah, he's got some utilities laying in there alongside of you, don't you? That, what you're talking
On both sides,
On both
absolutely.
sides, yeah.
Correct,
So you gotta be off of the utilities.
yeah,
There's only 1,000 square feet then.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah, so he's not gonna get into allowable area restriction or anything like that. You can go up to like almost.
he's good to
12.
go.
Almost 6. Out of wood, you can go up to 6 or 9 depending on what size you have, so he's in the
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Anybody else got any comments? Thank you for your
Thank you.
comments.
We have one question.
Okay.
Yep.
Is access to these individual units from the east and the west?
Correct.
So does that get paved on the east and west side?
There'll be a small apron, maybe a 2-foot apron on each side, but then there'll be access to it from both sides, east and west.
You can't drive a vehicle then on the east.
Maybe a very small vehicle in a 15-foot spot, it'll be, but most likely it'll be a pull-up and then access from the front, just as an unload, access, and then just almost a walk-around or maybe a small vehicle.
So it'll be hard surface or will not be hard surface?
There'll be a 2-foot apron at the end of the building, and then most likely it'll be gravel. Unless I decide to pave it or something later, but,
And that's gonna be susceptible to city ordinance if they hard surface that or not, for drainage and everything else.
correct.
What kind of plans do you have for drainage?
I haven't made a drainage plan on that yet. I'm still working with contracting on that.
Well, if I remember correctly, in a real wet year, that property directly to the north of you,
Gets to be pretty swampy, doesn't it?
Directly to the north gets very swampy, much further, I would say maybe another 100-foot plus to the north. I know that's got a big drainage culvert there onto that property closer to the Burger King drive-through, but closer to my area and probably 100-foot north of my area, I think stays fairly dry too, so.
well, I guess what I'm getting at is, you know, whether or not you pave the rest of the area, but just the fact of the size of the roof that's going to be going in there, there's going to be a lot of runoff.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's probably gonna have to go to the street.
yeah, most likely it will. I know there's drainage right in front, or there's a curb and gutter, or gutter right there at the street too, so.
Yeah.
The other issue that I saw, I went over and took a look at it, and it looks, and I could be wrong, but it looks like access to the west side of that building is probably going to be used coming out the parking lot from the folks next door there at the apartment. And I don't know if that's fair to them, but it would seem that that would probably be the easiest way to get in there.
There is on the drawing right now, there's there's access or for a knockout from the street itself. There will be most likely some deterrent from the parking lot over to my property to deter people from coming from that property over to my property, just so there isn't an issue there.
In regards to maybe a chain or a fence or?
Correct. Right now, from the property, from the apartment property over to the bowling alley, there's just columns with a chain that run in between, and that's most likely what would be the same access, so that we don't run into issues there.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
If we were to zone this, you're gonna leave an R2 pocket, right? You know, isolate that house, maybe that's, you guys also know I'm not in favor of storage units on Main Street, and this is right off Main Street, so I'm gonna be voting against this.
I would guess that you're gonna have customers that live in those apartments for storage. I'm guessing that's where you're looking.
That's where I'm looking, yep, absolutely.
From the city side, there is a 12-inch water main that runs on the west side of basically almost on the property line. If any work ever needed to be done, those units would be not accessible at that time.
Could you repeat that?
There's a 12-inch water main that runs on the west side of that property going north and south, right about on the property line.
Yeah.
And if there ever needed to be any work or maintenance done on that line, there would be no access to those units at that time.
Okay,
When-
that,
When we're talking access, do you know, like, where the gas lines are? What does Northwestern require for access?
These are all, this plan has been submitted to Northwestern before. They signed off on it.
yeah. And the water line is already, was already marked prior to and is already under the asphalt, on the property line under the, for the apartment complex, which is probably more than 20 feet away from where the building would actually be. So,
We can make sure that the record shows that it's cleared to Northwestern, I'll make my job easier when it comes back to me.
Other questions?
all right, thank you.
Thank you. Other comments from the audience? Hearing none, we are ready to talk among ourselves and maybe make a motion.
Well,
Me, I would like to, you talked about you were working on drainage plans, possibly fencing, parking lot. I'd like to see that, submitted for us to look at, because first of all, if the people can come through the driveway on the south and park and have to unload walking on the east and west side of the buildings with 2-foot wide sidewalks, or 2-foot wide piece of concrete, I'm not sure that that's adequate, number one, but, because if it's gravel, I think that's gonna be a problem. I was just speaking from experience that there was some gravel downtown, and that's just a mess, having gravel in the city. So, I got the fencing, the drainage, the gravel, the access from the driveway, those are the issues I have that I question, and I don't think that what I see right now, they don't really work that well. But if it was tabled and resubmitted where we could really review what the final deal is, that's kind of where I'm at.
Is that a motion? All right.
be careful.
Motion that I
He likes
hear,
to do that.
and we're waiting for a second, but the motion that I hear is we need to see more final plans before we need to vote on this thing. And
So,
it includes a complete drainage plan, some detail on the fencing. What else were we talking about there?
The paving on the side.
The aprons?
Or the aprons, or the walkways that access to the actual doors of the unload, or
Well, I'm assuming that you're going to have these into two individual storage sides with doors to the east and west. Is that?
there's a plan on that page, yeah.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, well, all right. Okay, now I get it. Yep. I missed that.
Now, the other issue too, we get a normal winter around here, snow removal could be an issue with that property as well, where you put it.
Well, you just push it to the north. But, you know, this piece of property is a tough one. You know, we had one a while back with, I think it was remnants. So, you know, that was a house situation, and that was a no-no. And now we got a commercial property, so what good is this piece of land gonna do? That's another thing, but I like we always talk about the drainage issue. We should have plans for all that, and see what's going on, but I like to second that of Larry Jersey's about being tabled until we get more.
Till we get some more final plans on exactly how it's going to be laid out. That would require us to do a new notice of rezoning, no?
no,
Okay. Or a new variance notice.
well, what will happen is when I, like I said, when I advertised them, I had advertised it already at both scenarios. So, once you decide what you're gonna do with the zoning, then it goes by which variances the applicant. So when I advertised it on both scenarios.
And on his residential, he can't get a conditional use for this type of project, can he?
Not an R2.
Not an R2?
He can, or if it was his own person.
Yeah,
It's the commercial.
yep, commercial use. And obviously, in order for it to be economically feasible for him, he needs to have the commercial. So, looks to me like our best bet is to rezone so we get some final details. As long as we don't have to re-advertise or anything and we hold it. Think you can have final details by the 10th of August?
Yes.
Further discussion on the motion,
Let's explain to him exactly what we're expecting back.
okay?
What I have is, I have a drainage plan showing paving on the outskirts or the sound, perhaps snow removal, and then a barrier between him and the apartment building. How that's going to be buried.
Yeah, the fencing type,
It's either fence or however it's going to be
and paving around the building.
paving around the building.
I got that. Yep, I got that.
All right. Are we happy at this point? If so, let's vote. Neil, roll call again, please.
Now, this is just on the rezoning.
This is just on the rezoning for right now,
Correct. Okay.
and we have a motion before us to table it to the 10th.
Oxley,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Kenny. Yes. Bach.
Yes.
Jursa.
Yes.
Englander. No. No to table? No. And Maloney.
Yes.
Okay. Motion carried.
All right. Now let's talk about the variance.
So you know which way you're going.
Yeah, we pretty much got to table that one too.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we table this. Discussion.
Doug first, me second.
Hearing none, I assume you're ready to vote. Let's go roll call again.
Larson.
Yes.
Kenny. Oh, sorry.
Somebody had to go back to work.
Jursa.
Yes.
Englander. Yes. Maloney.
Yes.
And Oxley.
Yes.
All right. Item number 10, a plat of lots 1 through 5, EZ Green Acres Edition in the southwest quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 3, P103 North, R60 West.
Okay, this is within our zoning jurisdiction, however, it's outside the city limits. You got a drawing in there. The one issue that we do have is the name of the subdivision is going to have to change. I think, did your surveyor mention that? Yes, you did. Yep, because we have an ordinance, both the city and the county, that you can have a subdivision that is the same as another one. That's mostly for title searching, so they don't confuse you. So I don't know if they have a name picked out or.
Well,
subject to-
when we formed the LLC, we wanted to call it Green Acres. They did a search and they said that was already been taken, so we put EZ in front of it.
Oh, yeah.
And so it would be different than the one that's already exists in the state of South Dakota.
That might be the only issue that came up with during the recording.
All right.
But it may have to change.
You're saying the changes of the EZ Green Acres?
No, Green Acres.
It is okay.
Duplicate. We do have a Green Acres
Right,
subdivision.
but
in
the
city.
EZ is okay on the.
Well, I have not got confirmation from the registry.
Okay.
You can't,
It's going to have to be the Register of Deeds give us the thing. We'll okay the
It's just-
plat, provided the name goes as the deed likes it.
provided as who likes it,
The Register of Deeds office
The
is
Register
one
of
that's going to
Deeds,
make a
okay.
call on this.
Title searching.
yeah. So any name that is acceptable as long as it doesn't have Green Acres in it.
Or anything that doesn't duplicate. something
Doesn't
that's already
duplicate
there.
something else.
Okay.
Understand what we're saying?
Yep, I do.
So the plating, we don't have a problem with that, we have a problem with the name.
So what do I need to do to get the name changed on the plat then?
Go over and make sure that if the deed says the EZ Green Acres is okay, we're okay with it.
Okay.
Is that what I hear here around the table, guys?
Well, for you, yeah, you're saying that for a second. But, yeah, I have no problem with it. I mean, I don't see the easy green problem, at all, the plat, but, it's up to,
Okay.
All right, let's have a motion. Moved and seconded that we approve the plat, providing the Register of Deeds okays the name. That's the way the motion reads. I don't think we need to go roll call on this. I think we can do this voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Is there any other business to come before this body at this time? Hearing none, we are ready for some public input. If you need to address the City Planning Commission on an item that was not on the agenda, excluding personnel items, please come forward to the podium and state your name and your concern. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. Items will be considered, but no action will be taken at this time. And I brought my little fancy antique 3-minute timer along. I remembered it today, and nobody's got anything to say? We are adjourned. I like my little fancy antique 3-minute telephone timer. I have used it a couple times, Reggie, over the years.